Good morning. Good to see everybody today. I'm thrilled to be here and share with you. I think many of you have probably heard of Clarity. Some of you may not have, but I'll just give you a brief overview before we get into the message real quick. Clarity, we're a pregnancy center organization. We have about 9 locations through 8 counties right around central Indiana, south central Indiana here, and we're headquartered out of Columbus. And so some people wonder really what we may do. We actually serve a large number of people. We're one of the largest pregnancy organizations in the state of Indiana. So last year, for instance, we served 4,200 women in our centers themselves. And what we provide is we provide hope in healing that is larger than those people that are experiencing unwanted pregnancies, larger than their fears, our goal. And so those who are in unwanted pregnancies, unplanned pregnancies that are considering abortion, our goal is for us to come alongside of them and allow them to see an option to choose life instead of abortion. And many people don't realize today in Indiana that abortion was changed. The laws were changed about 3 years ago, and so there are no longer any abortion clinics in Indiana. And what's happened in that is everybody assumes abortion is no longer active in Indiana, that it's only allowed now in the hospitals for the 3 reasons that are rape, incest, and the physical health of the mother. And so everybody assumes that the abortions have pretty well stopped in Indiana. We unfortunately realize that because of other avenues of abortion today, that it hasn't changed much, actually. The birth rate or the abortion rate prior to the legislative changes were somewhere around 8,500 to 9,000 abortions per year in Indiana. So about 8,500 to 9,000 lives of babies were ended every year in Indiana. And about 80,000 births per year in Indiana consistently over the years. And with the change of the laws, what has been unique to find is that the births have not gone up any. Meaning that the abortions have still continued as they always have. They have just come into a new way of receiving them. One is they travel across state lines. In our area, that's a pretty small number percentage-wise. The rest order their abortion pills online. They're able to order them within a matter of minutes with very little screening and very little money very often. And they're delivered right to the home without anyone ever knowing that. And the abortion takes place in the home. And so it's a new era for us, a new era of us trying to reach these young ladies and to reach them and offer them hope instead of fear before they order those pills online. So that's a lot of what we are challenged with today, is reaching them before they click order on their cell phone. So it's a new era that we've never encountered before in the history of the pro-life for those unborn and the mothers who carry them. We also have an education program in public schools that teaches about 7,200 students a year through our education staff. And then we have a medical staff as well that provides free sexually transmitted infection testing to engage population that are active in a community that are at risk of causing or experiencing an unwanted pregnancy. And as well as then we provide ultrasounds, and all of our services are free. Our ultrasounds, for instance, we have ultrasound machines at each of our locations. We have medical staff that provide the ultrasounds at all of our locations. Our medical staff travel from location to location, and there's when a young lady who's considering abortion sees an ultrasound, about 75% of those young ladies choose life instead of abortion because of the heartbeat and the baby that they're able to see in that. And so exciting to see the amount of lives that are impacted, and we're thrilled that you all have been a part of that. And thank you very much. I know the baby bottle program that we do here is really crucial to us, and you all carry that out and picked up some final bottles here today. So we're thrilled for that and excited to have that with us. A little about me, Eric Allen. I've got a wife and two children. That's better than 2 wives and 1 children. I'm only wrong once now. And so I've got a wife and 2 children. Our children are adults. They're grown. We have 2 grandchildren, and we've got one is 7 weeks old, a little granddaughter 7 weeks old, another granddaughter coming at the end of November. So we are excited and happy about life because they get to come to our house and we spoil them and send them home. You know the feeling, right? It's all those fun times. And I was a lead pastor for about 20 years prior to going to Clarity a handful of years ago. And so I've been around a lot of churches and had the opportunity to share the gospel and Jesus with many people, and I'm blessed in that. I think today you'll realize that all of us have those times in life when things get challenging. I'm assuming that if I said, has anybody ever had a time, has anybody lived a life that has had no challenges? I don't think any hands would go up, right? And you know that when those times come in your life, they really grab your attention pretty strongly, don't they? I mean, they're the thing that you can think about. They're the only thing you can see at that moment in your life. They really grab your focus and they draw your focus on that very thing. And that becomes a challenge for us, doesn't it, in life when those come. Several years ago, before we had grandchildren, we had our pet, our dog, and then we had a grand dog. That's what you get when you don't have grandchildren yet, right? It's a grand dog. We also had a veterinarian that was a friend of ours that would come to our house to give the vaccinations every year that they would receive, and the rabies shots, and you know the things that the dogs have to have. The cheapest thing you ever do with a dog is buy it. It's all the other stuff that goes along with it that cost you, right? And so one year we had our grand dog, and our grand dog was this easygoing, just friendly, lovely little dog, and he just was happy to see everybody. And so we came to the time for the vaccinations that year, and our veterinarian friend just came to our house, and I said, what do you want me to do? And she said, well, just sit down and hold him, and I'll give him his vaccine real quick, and and it won't be any big deal. And so I sat down. It really wasn't a big deal to me for him to receive a vaccination, I didn't think. Apparently it was to him. And so she went to stick the needle for a rabies shot into the skin of his neck, and she went to stick it in, and he wasn't quite expecting it. Because he was so easygoing, I was holding him fairly loosely. I really wasn't holding him tightly at all. But when the needle went in, he decided he wasn't happy with that, and he jumped and he snarled, which he'd never done at all before in his life. And he snarled and he turned his head, and when he turned his head, what do you think I did when he snarled? I kind of jumped a little bit, and our veterinarian friend did what the other 2 of us did. She jumped as well, right? I mean, it's kind of that chain reaction. You've seen that, haven't you? When somebody gets startled and everybody else gets startled as a result of it. But the challenge was when she jumped, she was holding a syringe in her hand. Now, when she jumped, her hands went into the air, which meant the syringe went in the air, and she let go of it. And you know what goes up must come what? Down. It must come down. And it did come down. And I was sitting down on the couch, and it came down. And you remember lawn darts? Anybody remember those years ago? They're outlawed now, right? For a reason. Well, it did come down. That syringe came down. That needle stuck right in the top of my thigh. I mean, it was sticking out of my leg like a lawn dart. I mean, it was just sticking up. And I looked at it, and she looked at it, and she pulled it out real quick. And she said, that's never happened to me before. And I said, well, it hasn't happened to me much either. Right? I mean, it's not exactly like it's a general rule of thumb that you do when you go to the veterinarian, you get a rabies shot too. And so we were both a little startled. And the positive thing was we both got vaccinated that day. Everybody that I bit for the next year had no problems at all. The challenge was every fire hydrant I drove by, I just was drawn to, but that's another story. But when that needle was sticking out of my leg, what do you think I'm thinking about? I'm not thinking about anything else. I'm thinking about that needle sticking in my leg. And that's kind of what goes on in our lives when those hardships come, isn't it? When those challenges come. We're not thinking about anything else. We're just drawn to that singular thing, and that's all that we can think about or focus on or see at that moment. And there's in the Bible book of Mark, I want us to, if you've got a Bible or electronic device, you can follow along, or I'll read this for you as well. But in Mark chapter 5, I'm a huge fan of Jesus, obviously, but also the events of Jesus' life is so rich with life examples for us and learning for us. And in Mark chapter 5, starting about verse 21, we read an event that happened in Jesus' life that impacted others. And it says this, it says, when Jesus had crossed over by boat to the other side of the lake, a large crowd gathered around him while he was by the lake. Then one of the synagogue rulers named Jairus came, and when he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet. Verse 23, he pleaded earnestly with him, my little daughter is dying. Please come and put your hands on her so that she will be healed and live. So Jesus went with him. So Jesus has probably just had a couple-hour trip across the Sea of Galilee, and not long after landing, just like often happened for him, whenever he arrives places and people find out he's there, just crowds start coming around. And the people start coming. A few verses later, if we were to read it, we would see that the crowd is so intense, it's almost, you've heard the phrase elbow to elbow, right? It's that elbow to elbow. I mean, it's just packed in tight to where they can't hardly move, it seems like. And through the midst of this crowd comes this synagogue ruler named Jairus, a synagogue leader. Now, in the day, it helps to realize the synagogue was the center of the community. It was where everything happened. It was where the students, the young people would go to be educated through the week for their daily life. Their school education, so to speak, happened in a synagogue. All of the social activities of the community very often happened at that synagogue. The worship on the Sabbath happened in that synagogue. And so it was the place of the community. And these religious leaders, these synagogue leaders, were kind of the pastor of the community in that, so they're well known. Everybody in the Jewish community is a part of the Jewish synagogue. So here's a gentleman who's well known by everyone, and he's a man of standing in his community. But then he comes to Jesus, and he moves from being this man of standing to a man that's literally falling on his face before the feet of Jesus. And when he falls down, he says, he blurts out to Jesus, please, my little daughter is dying. And I think we'd all have to echo in realizing and saying there can be no greater brokenness than to have a little child, your child dying. And so it actually says he pleaded with Jesus, which means that we only get the one statement, please, my little daughter is dying. But the tense of the word there, and he pleaded with Jesus, tells us it's not a one-time statement. Mark is just giving us the statement he said over and over, so to speak. And so he's pleading with Jesus, with my little girl, she's dying. My little girl is dying. Can you please come and put your hands on her so that she will be healed? When desperation comes in life, when we're broken in life, it has this way of kind of dealing with our pride, doesn't it? I mean, when we're reduced to the tragedy of a life that's happening in our lives, it kind of gets rid of all that self-righteous junk that might exist in us. And we lose focus of so much about how great we are and come to realize the need of someone greater in our life. Now, if you're familiar with the Jewish leaders of that day, you know the Jewish religious leaders, they're not the most prone towards Jesus at all. And it helps to, when you think about it, to realize how radical this is for this Jewish leader to come and kneel at the feet of this self-proclaimed Messiah. That's just not normal. That means all the pride is gone, because right now he has a needle of life that's caught his attention, that all he can think about is this little girl is dying. When women come to us at Clarity, they're not evil, they're not mean, they're just scared. They don't know what else to do in their life. They're in a situation that, regardless of how they got there, whether it was of their own making or because of something else someone has done to them, they're just scared and don't know what to do. And for that reason, they don't know how they're going to afford childcare. They don't know how they're going to afford to put gas in their car and take care of a baby. They don't know how they're going to make it on $15 an hour if they're lucky, or $20 if they're extremely lucky, and recognizing they can't do this on their own, and they can't do it on their own. And so that's why our goal is for them to reach out so that we can give them a hope bigger than their fear by showing them the love of Jesus through just caring for them no matter what their situation is, no matter how they got into it. It doesn't matter to us. What matters to us at that point is how we can give them hope bigger than their fear through the love of Jesus Christ that flows through us. And so when Jairus comes to Jesus, he just has that hope in Jesus and no one else. And he comes and there's no doubt in his mind what Jesus can do. He says, "Come, please come, put your hands on my little girl so that she can be healed and live." He doesn't come and say, "Come, Jesus, please come to my daughter and put your hands on her so she might be able to feel a little better." That's not what he says. He doesn't say, "Come and put your hands on her so maybe she has a fighting chance." He says, "Come, put your hands on my little daughter so that she will be healed." There's no doubt in his mind what Jesus can do. His entire focus is on that thing that Jesus can do. So Jesus heads on his way to see this little girl. But as often happens in life, when we've got a plan, detours come, don't they? Things that we don't expect come along that we don't realize are coming. And in this case, it's an amazing detour of a young woman who's been plagued with illness for 12 years. It's a sermon all its own that we're going to kind of bounce over. But perhaps this last week or month or this year, a detour came that you didn't expect. You've had those before, right? They just come out of the blue. Several years ago, I was traveling. I live up in Bargersville in Johnson County, the Center Grove area, and I was traveling down to Brown County, which is just directly south to us. And so I was just going down there, and on the way, I've been there. You know, if you've been around the areas, you know how to get to places, and I've just been down the road that goes there. It's really easy. But as I was going along, out of the blue, unexpectedly, there was a road closed sign. The major road that went down to it was closed from my area. I didn't know it was closed. Hadn't been closed very long. And there's a road closed, and what is there when there's a road closed sign? There's a detour sign, right? So I took the detour sign. That's all well and good, right? When there's a detour, what do? You follow the sign. Well, there was a detour sign. Unfortunately, in great Indiana fashion, there was never another sign that told you to turn anywhere else. And so here we are, this line of cars following behind each other, meandering through the countryside, trying to get down to Nashville and just going around. And I have no idea if we're going in the right direction or not. I wasn't using GPS at the time. And I was just kind of thinking, well, I just follow the guy in front of me. You ever done that before? You just follow the person's in front of you? Who's to know that the guy that's all the way in the front isn't just taking a Sunday drive? Right? He might be going to another state. We don't have a clue. But we all followed him around. We finally came out all right. But it was one of those things where you realize sometime that detours come. And when our detour was coming, when it came, you know what I spent all my time doing? I spent all my time looking for the next turn. I was focused on that very thing. What's next? Where do I got to turn next? What am I going to do next? Right? And when those detours come, we can get kind of consumed in that in life. Spending all of our time looking for what do I do next? What do I do next? And our eyes can be taken off of who we need to focus on. So Jairus' daughter, she's at the brink of death, and this detour comes. It's a very valid detour. One that Jesus worked in miraculously, but it goes to show us that sometimes the detours in our life, they may not be for us at all. They may be the exact thing that somebody else needs the work of God in their life through. So they finally get back on the road for Jesus to go heal this little girl. And when we come to Mark 5, verse 35, we read this passage in Mark 5, verse 35. While Jesus was still speaking, some people came from the house of Jairus, the synagogue leader. "Your daughter is dead," they said. "Why bother the teacher anymore?" Kind of imagine what's going through Jairus' mind as he's got Jesus with him and he sees the people from his household coming. And I wonder if he at first isn't maybe even a little excited to show them that he's got Jesus with him, and they're going to the daughter. But then he hears the words, your daughter is dead. Imagine how his heart must have broke at that time. And some of you know that. You know that feeling. And it cuts to the core, doesn't it? And it even takes part of your own life from you. But if you look at the words of those from Jairus' house, there's deeper meanings to them. And I'll touch on some now and just a little bit later. But your daughter is dead. Why bother the teacher any longer? You notice what they called him there. Not the Messiah, not the Lord. They call him what? Teacher. You see, to them he's just a teacher. Why bother this guy who can't really do anything about your situation? Why bother this guy who might give a really good sermon, but he can't change what's about to happen in your world and in your life? You see, when we come to this one called Jesus, who we believe he is changes everything. It dictates everything in our life. You see, if we're just coming to a good teacher, we might be coming to someone who can console us in the hardship of life, or maybe even give us a little lesson plan about it. But if you're coming to the Savior, that changes things, doesn't it? If you're coming to the Lord of your life, if you're coming to the Son of God, then you're coming to the Creator who created all things. You're coming to the one who can go beyond consoling you in your situation. And you're coming to the Creator who can invade your situation with the power of the God who spoke this universe into existence. That's different than a teacher, isn't it? And Jesus gives us in the next verse, 5 of some of the most powerful words in the Bible that we overlook so easily. In Mark 5, verse 36, it says, overhearing what they said, Jesus told them, "Don't be afraid, just believe." Don't focus on what these men who really don't believe in me are telling you. And ponder the depth of what that means from Jesus' mouth. Don't be afraid, just believe. Can we say that together this morning with me? Don't be afraid, just believe. Let's say it again. Don't be afraid, just believe. You know those fears that you're living with that you have no control over? Don't be afraid, just believe. You know that situation in your life, it's bigger than you know what to do with, and it's just eating you up inside. You can't get it out of your mind. It's just tearing you up. Don't be afraid, just believe. You know that diagnosis, that illness, that depression, that anxiety, that fear? Don't be afraid, just believe. And it doesn't mean don't be afraid because God's going to change it all. It means don't be afraid because God is bigger than it all. Don't be afraid because the one who spoke the moon and the stars in existence, He's over it all. Don't be afraid because the one who loved you so much that He died on the cross for your sins and would not stay in the grave but rose from the dead. He's bigger than any sin. He's bigger than any addiction. He's bigger than any job loss. He's bigger than any enemy that can come against you in life. And that the very one that sits on the throne sits there today, and as a result we can say, don't be afraid what? Just believe. Mark 5, verse 37 through 42. It says, He did not let anyone follow Him except Peter, James, and John, the brother of James. When they came to the home of the synagogue leader, Jesus saw commotion with people crying and wailing loudly. He went in and He said to them, "Why all the commotion and wailing? The child is not dead, but asleep." But they laughed at Him. After He put them out, He took the child's father and mother and disciples who were with Him and went in to where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, "Talitha cum," which means, "Little girl, I say to you, get up." Immediately the girl stood up and began walking around. She was 12 years old, and they were completely astonished. What was it that Jesus had said to them? Don't be afraid, what? Just believe. See, some of us are stuck in the happenings of this world. We're stuck in the broken situation of our life. We might be stuck in the situation of a country, or stuck in our politics, and we're stuck in the words, really, your daughter is dead, don't bother the teacher anymore. And we're stuck there in our fears, in our anxieties, in our stresses, and that's where we're focused. That's the needle in our life that has us, and we can't get beyond it. And think about what's really behind the words that I mentioned before from the people who came from Jairus' house. Don't bother the teacher anymore. You see, don't bother the teacher. Why? Don't bother the teacher because, your situation's hopeless. Don't bother the teacher because there's nothing he can do to help you. Or don't bother the teacher because, and some of you might be this way right now. Don't bother the teacher because he doesn't care for me. And I think most of us, if we're honest, we've been there at times where we've wondered, haven't we? If you're honest, my guess is that you've felt that. You've had that concern, that doubt. Does Jesus really care me? I believe he's all-powerful, but does he even know I'm here anymore? And some of you have lived a Jairus moment with family, with children, and you've heard those devastating words that they're gone. And you know the hurt of this man's life. And we can read through these stories in the Bible, these miracles of Jesus, and we can so easily miss the people that he cares for, because those people are us. And they're just like you and I. My wife Joyce and I, we've been married 38 years now, and we've had our Jairus moment. We unfortunately have had it multiple times. We have two sons. Nate is our oldest, he's 30, and they have our first granddaughter that I mentioned, 7 weeks old. We have another son that's 28. He's Ryan. And Nate is our oldest son. But he's not our first. We have 5 children we lost before they were ever born, and we never got to hold them or meet them. And each loss was devastating. And as we watch our little granddaughter now learning how to smile, we never got that. And when my wife became pregnant with Nate, it was our last. We were not going to do this again. And we just could not continue doing it anymore. And at that time, that's a lot of years ago, 30 years ago, things have changed since then. But then we were seeing specialists, and she was getting all the treatments and the test weekly and everything like that. That we, get a blood test on Monday, and that time things took a little longer. We'd get a call from the doctor on Friday. It was a routine. What's happening month after month, and every week of the month. And so Nate, we called him Nathaniel. That was going well with all of the treatments that we were doing. It was really going well, and we were excited. And family were celebrating of this little boy that we were going to have. And then the doctor called one Friday, and he said, "Your test didn't come back good. They changed drastically from last week." And in his words, he said, I think your baby has died, and your body just doesn't know it yet. And we were really broke. And then God brought me to recall the Bible book of James, chapter 5, in 14. It says, if anyone is sick, he should call the elders of the church to pray over them and anoint them with oil in the name of the Lord, and a prayer offered in faith will make a sick person well. Didn't necessarily at that time even understand what that meant, but I knew it was in the Bible, so why not just follow it, right? So I called our pastor at the time, our lead pastor at the time, who believed in prayer. He was a simple man, but he was a godly man. I told him what had happened, and he said, meet me at the office here as soon as you can. And so we went and told him, what it all had gone on, and asked for prayer for my wife, and asked for prayer for our child inside her, and for him to lay hands on us and just pray, just follow the Bible verse. And he said he would, and he did. And as he prayed, I don't know, a weight lifted off of me. I'm not sure what it was. We would probably call it the Holy Spirit. When I got to the car, I asked my wife, I said, did you feel anything while he was praying? And she said no, she hadn't. We had a doctor's appointment on Monday. They were going to do an ultrasound before they did a DNC removal of the baby. And the ultrasound to see what had happened. And as we went into the ultrasound tech and we sat down, the ultrasound tech said, so what am I doing? What are we here for? The usual pleasantries. And so we explained that, that our test had come back and the doctor had said our baby had died. And we were having an ultrasound before the baby was to be removed. And she said, okay. And she went on, and then she looked kind of puzzled as she did the ultrasound. And then she said, now what was it again that we're looking for? And I told her again, and she was a little puzzled, and she said, well, I don't know anything about your test. All I see is a healthy baby with a strong heartbeat. And you see, today he's an abundantly healthy 30-year-old young man married with our granddaughter. We named him Nathaniel, which means a gift of God, because he was a gift from God. Jesus said, don't be afraid, just believe. Say that with me, will you? Don't be afraid, just believe. Let's say it again. Don't be afraid, just believe. It doesn't mean that God changes every situation, but it does mean that God is in every situation. And He loves you, and He walks with you, beside you, and over you. As you walk through it, you're not alone. And when you have your fears, which we all do in life, and we have the needles that come, don't be afraid, just believe. Let me pray for us this morning. Lord, I thank you for you. We can be broken, we can be hurting, we can be so many things. And when we are, it is so hard to just breathe and trust and rest in you. Even if you don't change our situation, rest in you, knowing, Father, that you are bigger than our situation, that you've got those that we love and are holding, that you've got them in your hands, even when they're not in ours. And that we can just believe, because you died on a cross and rose from the dead. You are God. And you are the one who loves us dearly, so that we can believe. I ask this in your name.